There was more of interest here than just the landscape. This is where the story was. What it meant to small towns like Moab and Kanab, St. George and others, was that for the first time, young people saw what this outside world was like. It's not as if they hadn't gone to movies. The movies had come to them.
Growing up in Utah and camping and traveling to the Red Rock country, you heard stories of Butch Cassidy growing up. You knew he was a real person, but he was a legend. He was a myth. He was sort of hard to wrap your head around. But then the film comes along, and you see on the screen a tangible, real-life, flesh-and-blood portrayal of Butch Cassidy.
In the context of growing up as a boy and seeing it living in the UK, they really did sort of encapsulate and embody what America was in some ways, because it was about individualism and it was about freedom and it was about escape, and all those things sort of got inside you, and their lives just looked like they were so much fun. Who wouldn't want to be riding around with all your mates like that, just goofing around and having fun?
I think it's actually one of my earliest memories seeing this film. And I do remember at one point the moment when my dad jumps off the cliff and he says, "I can't swim." I remember in the screening, me screaming out, "That's not true, he can't swim." But because so much of my childhood was immersed in that landscape, it did feel like it was part of my backyard.
1969, we got an invitation from Bob and Lola to attend the premiere of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid at the Academy Theater in Provo, and we went to the film that night. We're very moved by what we saw, the genius of George Roy Hill take a story of outlaws from Utah and film them in the place where much of it happened.
We sat down, and when the movie started, I really and truly just tingled, because it was just such an exciting thing for a young mother in Provo, Utah, to be there, be a part of this whole thing.
Well, that ought to do it. Think you used enough dynamite there, Butch?
The reason I got involved was, it started when I did the Outlaw Trail. And when I was told by a historian at the University of Utah that there was this trail that went from Montana all the way down into the Lake Powell area. It was a trail that Butch Cassidy had kind of designed. It was sort of there, but he wanted to have a trail that he could build hideouts along the way so that other outlaws in other parts of the country would have a place to come to where they'd be safe. And while I was on the trail, I kept hearing stories about Butch Cassidy, that he had designed these hideouts along the way. And I just thought it was just fantastic, just really incredible.
Boy, every time I see Hole in the Wall again, it's like seeing it fresh for the first time. And every time that happens, I keep asking myself the same question. How can I be so damn stupid as to keep coming back here?
So the initial title was Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy, and then I was put up for Butch Cassidy because I'd done a comedy on Broadway, so therefore I was the funny guy, So I had a meeting with George Roy Hill, and I said, well, we met in a bar on 3rd Avenue in New York, and I said, look, I'm interested in this. Yeah, I think it's a great story, but that's not the part I'm interested in. And he was intrigued by that, and he said, what? And I said, I can more relate to the Sundance Kid, because he's an outlaw, and I can more relate to that sensibility than I can. Also, I'm not a happy-go-lucky guy. I can do it, because I've done comedy, but that's not what really interests me. He got very taken with that idea. So he went to Paul, and because he knew Paul, and that the real Paul was just exactly that finger-snapping guy that was always smoking, and he had tape on his fingers, and because he's always biting his neck, because he's a nervous guy. But his image on film is this cool guy. So he went to Paul and he said, I want you to meet Redford, because I think you should play Butch Cassidy. So I went, in New York, I went to meet Paul, and we had a dinner. And in the course of that dinner, he and I got to know each other. And when he came out of me, he said, I think I should play Butch Cassidy. That Bob played the Sundance Kid.
Listen, I don't mean to be a sore loser, but when it's done, if I'm dead, kill him. Love to.
You know, at the time, Redford was still very much a Hollywood actor, and what I think this film did was helped him kind of lay down roots in Utah. It made him a Utah celebrity in a sense. He wasn't just a Hollywood celebrity. He was ours. He was a Utah guy after this film.
Like, if you think about the film now, it's become such an important part of, you know, Hollywood and the Western and all that kind of stuff. And it is a loved film, and for all sorts of good reasons. Just for me, it was just this fantasy vision of what America could be. And it was about freedom and escape in ways that I didn't really understand, you know. And that's a really sort of powerful thing for a film to do.